In a world where humans enslave demi-humans, we find Banaza thanking the demi-humans for loading the cargo onto his cart, telling them there's still more to load so they should eat lunch and wait for him. He pulls out a pouch of money to give them, but hears people whispering in disgust, saying, "This man gives money to a demi-human, he's truly strange." The demi-human tells Banaza, "I appreciate your offer, but we're demi-humans, as you know." Banaza responds with a question, "And what's the difference?" Then adds, "I'm the one making you wait, so this is the least I can do." The demi-humans become very happy and thank him, but on the other hand, the humans scorn Banaza and call him a hypocrite. Banaza then asks himself, why do people care whether someone is human or demi-human? Can't we just coexist no matter what we are? Suddenly, his body starts glowing and he disappears. He wakes up in another place and hears someone say, "The hero summoning succeeded." He looks at the summoning team leader in surprise and asks, "Where am I?" The leader replies, "Welcome to the magical kingdom of Claret." Banaza is surprised and asks about the voice he heard when he woke up. The leader explains that they summon potential heroes from other worlds according to their tradition, to help them in their long war and hopefully fight the Demon King's army instead of them. A maid approaches to measure his magical abilities. He places his hand on the crystal ball, and the leader tells him that he'll receive new skills as compensation because those who come here, those starting from level 1, get powerful skills that can't be obtained through normal training. We call them acquired powers, he adds. A screen appears in front of Banaza showing his magical stats. He notices he can read the language of this world. He looks at the maid and sees her shocked and trembling. She says, he doesn't have any acquired powers, these are just the stats of a normal person. On the other side, they hear the summoners expressing amazement because of the strength of the second hero, who has blonde hair. They cheer for the appearance of a hero on the level of the legendary one, and everyone runs to him in excitement. The hero looks at Banaza with disdain and says, "So I'm the one chosen to be this world's savior." After a while, they head to the royal palace to celebrate the legendary hero, and everyone ignores Banaza as if he never came at all. At sunset, they put him in a carriage, and he recalls what the king told him, "The gate you came from is already closed and won't open again. That's a failure on our part. In this case, we'll allow you to live in the Delisa forest in the north. But be careful not to talk to anyone about this mistake." On the way, Banaza tries to speak to the demi-human driver, but the driver says, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk to you." Banaza says, "I come from a faraway place and know nothing about this world. Can you tell me a bit about it?" He asks him, "Are you under a slavery contract with the king?" The driver is surprised and asks, "What are you talking about?" Banaza tries to explain that in his world, contracts between humans and demi-humans are common. The driver replies, "It's true my wage is low, but we're not slaves. In these lands, it doesn't matter whether you're human or demi-human." After 20 days, they reach the forest and the driver gives Banaza a magical bag from the king. It contains money and food enough for a long time. Before the driver leaves, he warns Banaza that there are rumors the Demon King's army is nearby, so he advises him to move quickly. Banaza checks the bag and finds a very cheap sword. Some slime monsters appear and one of them attacks him. Banaza defeats it quickly and is surprised that the sword broke from such a weak blow. A screen appears saying that his level has increased and that the voice guide can now be used. He activates it and the guide tells him new skills have been added and displays them. She tells him he has tracking and monster lure spells already applied to his bag. Banaza concludes that monsters attacked him because of the bag given to him by the king and that the king wants him dead quickly. The guide asks, "Do you want to remove the spells on the bag?" He says yes and thinks to himself, "They used easily removable magic just to get rid of me. What are they thinking?" He goes to explore the forest and find a safe place to sleep, but a screen appears blocking him. The guide tells him, this forest is contaminated with a high concentration of demonic matter. Demonic matter is the liquid or gas that comes from demons and causes serious harm to humans. She asks, "Do you want to purify the forest?" He says yes. She warns him it will consume a third of his magical power, but he doesn't care how much magical power he has. The skill activates and purifies the entire forest, and she tells him his level has increased. At the same time, the princess tells her father, "What you did is really cruel. The summoned hero couldn't return to his world because of us, and now he has to live in that dangerous forest. I heard rumors that the Demon King's army has set up its front base there." The king doesn't care about her words and says, "What's so cruel about it? He's just trash who couldn't be our hero." One of the servants comes in and tells the king someone has used the purification spell, which is the best magic of all. The king gets excited and says, "Surely our blonde hero went out to face the Demon King's army. That talent only appears once in a century." The servant awkwardly replies, "Actually, it didn't appear in the south where the hero went, it appeared in the north, in Delisa forest." The king and princess are shocked. At the same time, Banaza is surprised that he leveled up and concludes that in this world, leveling up happens simply by using magic. He notices a strange symbol next to his stats and doesn't understand its meaning. He asks the guide, How much magical power do I have now? A screen opens and he sees his magical power is already full. He then asks himself, what should I do now? I don't know the range of my weak purification magic, so I'm not confident entering the forest. And I can't go back to the city now that people there know me. The guide tells him, in that case, you can use transformation magic. He tries it and transforms into another person, allowing him to go to the city without being recognized. The guide tells him, you can use teleportation magic to get there quickly. He uses it and instantly arrives at the capital. He says to himself, in my world, this was a skill only the most powerful mages could use. An idea comes to his mind and he tries using teleportation magic to return to his world, but fails. He decides he needs to make money to survive in this world, so he goes looking for guilds to join. The guide tells him, go down this path and you'll reach the Adventurers Guild in the town of Clarid. When he goes to the guild, the receptionist tells him, we assign adventurer ranks based on their achievements. As your rank rises, you'll be able to take on harder quests and receive better rewards. Anyone registered in the guild can receive emergency funds and compensations if anything happens. She asks him, what name will you register with? He gets flustered and says, my name is Felio, and she gives him a gold coin and says, your information is stored here. He goes to check the quest board and finds that all the rewards are low. Suddenly, he hears a young girl saying she needs someone to go with her to the Delisa forest, but all the adventurers refuse because of rumors that the Demon King's army is there, and no amount of money can convince them to risk it. One adventurer tells her that partial troops will be sent there, so she should wait and go with them. She replies, my family is there and I have to go help them quickly, but they ignore her and leave. Felio tells her, I can come with you, and she says, I don't have much money to pay you. He says, that's fine, I've visited that forest before, so we can go there right now with teleportation magic. Everyone in the guild is shocked by his words, saying he must be lying. Teleportation magic isn't something beginners can use. Suddenly, a knight appears, puts her sword to his neck, and says, stay away from this girl. I'm Balarosa from the Royal Knights. She asks, did you say you can use teleportation magic? But you don't seem like a skilled mage capable of using such a spell. Another knight adds, he probably wants to kidnap her or enslave her or sell her. The little girl moves away from him and hides behind the knights. He replies, I'm not a suspicious person, I'm just an adventurer and my name is Felio. And he tries to prove his sincerity by saying, what if you all come with us? They go to a place where no one can see them, and Balarosa warns him that if he tries anything, she'll kill him. He uses teleportation magic, and they're shocked he can actually do it. One of the knights asks him, are you a great mage of the highest rank? He says, no, I'm just a beginner adventurer who does some magic. Balarosa kneels and apologizes for what she said. He tells her it's fine as long as they're not suspicious of him anymore. The little girl asks in surprise, how did the demonic matter disappear from here? I'm sure this place was full of demonic matter, yet I don't sense any magical beasts now. Before Felio can reply, a notification appears telling him he must not tell demons that he used purification. He's confused by the word demons, and Balarosa tells him, I'm sorry for dragging you into this, then pushes the girl aside and they all point their weapons at her. Balarosa says, why don't you show us your real form? Felio is very confused and asks, what's going on here? They explain that the guild posted a notice about a suspicious girl who had been asking for help a lot recently, saying she wanted to travel to that forest, so she's likely trying to return to the Demon King's army. The girl drops the act and mockingly says, the castle's pretend knights now have the nerve to speak to me like that. She transforms into a giant wolf and says, my name is Fenrris. I'm the younger sister of Fenrris, one of the 4 legendary kings. You'll regret what you've done. I came because my brother ordered me to gather information about the enemies and find food, but now, you all must die. She fills the air with demonic matter, and everyone weakens except for Felio. Fenrris charges at Balarosa, but Felio quickly saves her and thinks to himself, I can't run and protect them all at the same time. So he decides to save them and uses teleportation magic to transport the 4 knights. Fenris asks him, why didn't you escape with them? He thinks to himself, I don't know why I was chosen, but I don't want to die before doing something in this world, so I'll try every spell I have. Fenris charges at him, so he uses high jump, and when he lands, she leaps at him again, so he uses a rock barrier. She gets really furious, so he uses storm magic, while she uses short-range teleport and appears behind him. He then casts gravity magic and pins her to the ground. Banaza says, I have to restrain her now. Isn't there any magic that can do that? The guide tells him, it's best to use enslavement magic, it'll make the target your slave and let you control their thoughts and actions. He replies, I can't do that, is there another way? Fenris uses anti-gravity magic, but the guide cancels her spell and insists again, I urge you to use enslavement magic. He says, no, I won't use it. Fenris keeps trying to resist the gravity with her spell, and the guide keeps stopping her and pressing Banaza, but he refuses. Eventually, Fenris gives up and says, I don't have enough magic to defeat you, and there's no path in life for a warrior who can't fight, so kill me now. He replies, I don't want to kill you. I don't even like fighting, and he cancels the spell. She's surprised by his reaction and says, I'm a demon, and you're saying you'll let me live? He replies, I don't care if you're human or a demon. I don't want to kill someone who surrendered, that's all. She returns to her original form and falls asleep due to magical exhaustion. That night, he opens the magic types menu and asks himself, why do I have such strong magic? Fenrris wakes up inside the tent and thinks, I'm resistant to magic and I still couldn't defeat him. I always thought humans were a weak race. She notices her magical energy has returned and goes outside to ask him, did you use healing magic on me while I was asleep? He replies, yes, and apparently it worked. She says, anyone else would have killed me and skinned me alive, so I promise I'll never fight humans again. Because you have all this power, I'll consider you my master, and I'll spend my life repaying my debt to you. He refuses, but she insists and says, I'll be your servant, carry your things, and do whatever you want. He says, no, don't do that. I don't need to own someone. She shows her claws and says, if you don't accept, I'll kill myself. He stops her and says, alright, you can come with me. Then he tells her that he's not from this world and was summoned as a hero candidate. But he didn't have any skills and they couldn't send him back to his world, which is why he ended up in this forest. He cancels his transformation magic and shows her his true form, telling her, I changed my appearance because they might be looking for me, and now I don't know where to go or what to do. So if you come with me, your life will get much harder, and you'll definitely regret it. She replies, I don't mind. We fanged ones live our lives for the person we consider our master. That's a rule for us. It doesn't matter who you are or where you came from, my loyalty is to you, and I'll live with you for the rest of my life. He agrees. That night, the blonde hero is at the king's castle. The king asks him, what happened? We sent our troops to strike the demon king's army and you let them all be destroyed. He angrily replies, let me tell you something. What's the story with the soldiers you sent with me on this mission? They panicked and fell apart just from seeing a single magical beast, and they were wiped out in seconds. I did what I could to save as many of them as possible. The king asks in disbelief, are you saying the blame is entirely on the soldiers? He replies, yes, you should be thanking me for bringing back as many as I did, and walks off. The king asks one of the soldiers about the hero's performance in battle, and he replies, even though he's a hero, he was behind the soldiers. He ran away as soon as the fight began, and he kept yelling at the soldiers and blaming them. Meanwhile, the blonde hero is walking away angrily and thinking, I trained for a whole month, so why haven't my skills improved at all? All I can do is hold out against humans and weak magical beasts. I wouldn't stand a chance against any strong monster. The next day, Banaza is walking with Fenrris through the market. He tells her, I need to earn money if I'm going to live in this world. I think I'll go to the Adventurers Guild again, then look for a place to sleep tonight. They go to the guild, and Banaza brings Fenrris to register as well. She's curious about the golden pendant used to store the data. The receptionist asks, what name will you register with? Before she can say her real name, Banaza stops her and tells the receptionist, her name is Reese. Afterward, Fenrris apologizes to him and says, I forgot we shouldn't use our real names here. He replies, it's fine, what's more important is that you get used to your human form and don't transform. Suddenly, they hear an announcement about an urgent quest to hunt bears in the north because they're heading toward the city. The receptionist tells them, all ranks are eligible, and this time, the reward will be 10 times higher for each bear killed. Banaza tells Fenrris, looks profitable, but I don't think we should accept it. She asks in surprise, what are you saying? You could destroy any bear army easily. He replies, impossible, even the hero couldn't defeat them, so there's no way I could. She says, in that case, I'll go fight them myself, and if I defeat them, that'll prove you could have beaten them too, since you're the one who beat me. He uses teleportation and they go to the forest with the beasts. They find the house the receptionist told them about, which they can use as a base. Suddenly, they hear screaming and go to check what's happening. They find Balarosa's squad surrounded by bears. Fenrris tells him, they're very weak, let's just ignore them and move on. They hear one adventurer tell her friend, you won't be able to fight with those injuries, Blossom. A bear attacks Blossom, and she blocks the strike with her sword but can't hold out and falls to the ground. Before the bear finishes her off, Banaza zaps all the bears with lightning magic. One bear remains and leaps at an adventurer named Bellano, but Fenrris jumps with full force and kills it. Afterward, Balarosa thanks Banaza for saving them again and says, we were worried about you after what happened with the monster. Fenrris gets annoyed because she meant her. Then Balarosa asks, who's with you? He replies, this is Reese, my travel companion. Suddenly, a huge bear appears behind Fenrris, and she looks at it with intense anger, and it faints from fear. She asks the bear, does that mean you surrender? And it bows before her. They decide to take it with them, so Banaza casts a binding spell on it to keep it from attacking humans. Then he uses transformation magic to change its scary appearance, turning it into a cute bunny. They name it Sabi, and Balarosa and the other adventurers are shocked. Then they all return to the house, and Balarosa asks Banaza to teach them how to fight. She says, as you know, the blonde hero's troops were defeated by the bears, so the hero got very angry and said he wouldn't lead forces against the Demon King again until he found strong soldiers he could trust, and locked himself in the fortress. That's why the king issued an urgent order for us to train until we can defeat high-level beasts like the bears. But we're still beginner trainees and can't even beat one bear even though we're 4. Banaza thinks to himself, I still don't know how to use magic properly, so I'm not sure I can teach anyone. Suddenly, he notices Fenrris is very angry with them, so he says, sorry, I introduced her earlier as my companion, but she's actually my wife, and all I want is to live a quiet life with her. Fenrris calms down and says, that's a good idea, let's teach them how to fight, and he agrees. But they tell him, we're embarrassed to ask another favor, but camping outside is very dangerous, so could we rent a part of your house? Fenrris says, no problem, the house is big. At the same time, the Demon King's assistant, named Aniclimax, enters with a report. She tells him, regarding the unit led by Fenrris that was defeated in Delisa Forest, we found out it wasn't Clarid's magic users who used the purification spell, it came from a single person. He replies, a single person with magic powerful enough to defeat demons in an instant, you must capture them, of course. The next day, Banaza has the adventurers fight a giant boar, but the boar chases Balarosa and she runs from it. Blossom rushes at it and strikes with her sword, but her blow isn't strong enough to cut it. Bellano tries to protect her with a magic barrier and Bellary shoots it with an arrow, but it doesn't even scratch it. Bellano runs out of energy and the barrier in front of Blossom disappears, so they all flee from it. Afterward, they return to the house and Balarosa asks Banaza, are you sure we can take this room? He says, yes, we received our rewards after we defeated the bears, and I got a good price for this room. Fenrris enters and says she made dinner. They're shocked to see it's raw meat. Banaza says he'll cook it, and Balarosa says she'll help him. After they finish, everyone is impressed, and Blossom asks him, did you use magic? He says, no, I love cooking, and Balarosa helped me. Fenrris gets annoyed and jealous. When she sees the salad, she says, plants are food for weak little beasts who can't hunt meat for themselves. Banaza replies, but it's nutritious, and I made it. She tastes it and loves it. Then she tries the cooked meat and is amazed, but when she finds out Balarosa cooked it, she's surprised. Later, they go to the guild to sell the monsters they hunted, and people can't believe they hunted that much. Then Fenrris asks Banaza, can I walk around the city while they assess what we brought? A man named Lilith walks in and says to Banaza, I want to talk to you for a bit. Banaza tells Fenrris, I'll wait for you, and sits with him. Lilith tells him, your achievements aren't just famous in the guild, they've spread across the whole country. We got a request from the kingdom, they want you to serve the hero. The king said if you agree, he'll make you a knight, because he's never seen anyone defeat that many A-rank monsters before, especially with just 2 people. Banaza thinks to himself, serving for the good of this world is the greatest offer someone could get, but as someone summoned from another world, I have no reason to fight demons, especially because of Fenrris. He asks Lilith to decline the offer. Banaza walks out and finds Fenrris looking disheveled. He asks her worriedly, did you fight a magical beast on your own? She replies, no, don't worry, and thinks to herself, I didn't expect cooking lessons to be this hard, and remembers how she failed at everything in the cooking class. A month later, a messenger from the kingdom comes to Banaza, asking him to fight in the human army against the demons. Banaza tells them, my answer won't change no matter how many times you ask. Fenrris says, how many times have they asked you this month? Want me to threaten them? He says, no, they're just doing their job. They go check how the adventurers' training is going, and Banaza is amazed that Blossom has brought life back to the field. Then they go to Bellary, and Fenrris tells her, shooting arrows at trees isn't enough training, but Bellary says her heart won't allow her to shoot at animals in the forest. Meanwhile, Banaza goes to Bellano and gives her a ring that boosts her endurance and gives her energy. Suddenly, they hear Balarosa scream and find a beast attacking her. Fenrris slices it apart and says, stop acting innocent, you should be able to defeat a C-rank magical beast easily, you're just pretending to be weak to attract my husband. Balarosa asks confused, what are you talking about? And Fenrris notices someone is watching them. They return home and are amazed by Fenrris cooking. Banaza asks her, when did you learn this? She tells him that every time they went to the guild, she attended cooking lessons, and remembers the cooking instructor saying, if you want to win a man's heart, make him curry. She gives him the dish and says, I made this one especially for you. When he tastes it, he really likes it. Aniclimax is watching and can't believe Fenrris is sitting with humans so casually and interacting with them. Suddenly, Fenrris appears behind her and says, what are you doing here? She brings her inside and Banaza offers her tea. Fenrris asks, what brings one of the Demon King's closest aides here? Surely not a visit. Aniclimax replies, I came to investigate the area and saw you by chance, and thinks to herself, Fenrris is a completely different person from when she was in the Demon King's army. She wonders how Banaza can be so calm while sitting next to a demon. She uses ability assessment magic but can't detect anything about his stats. She says slyly, this area seems new, especially Delisa Forest, which no longer has any magical beasts. Banaza says, "You're right. I guess the purification spell I used earlier worked." Olimenes is shocked and says to Fenrris, "Do you realize this man is the one who defeated your brother Fenrris and his forces?" Fenrris snaps and says, "Shut up." Banaza asks in surprise, "Is that true? Did I really do that to your brother?" She replies, "Very few humans can use purification magic, so I figured that's what happened. My brother was a fanged warrior like me, and he would have hated for me to pity his death. Besides, he was one of the 4 legendary kings. He alone bears the blame for his failure." She tells Olimenes, "I've decided to accept this man as my husband because his power impressed me, and nothing will change my feelings." They realize the other adventurers were eavesdropping and now know everything about Fenrris. Olimenes thinks to herself, "This man is a threat to the Demon King's army, and that means Fenrris is now our enemy too." She stands and says to Banaza, "Do you mind facing me in a friendly match? I'm very curious to see the strength that impressed Fenrris." They go outside, and Olimenes begins by attacking with poison magic, aiming to hit both him and Fenrris. Banaza easily nullifies it and uses binding magic. He angrily says, "I'm your opponent here, so I won't let you hurt anyone else." Olimenes surrenders. The next day, Banaza gathers the adventurers and says, "I didn't tell you the truth about Fenrris because I didn't want any problems. If you want to report us to the castle, go ahead." Fenrris says, "But allow me to say one thing. I swore loyalty to my husband and I'm no longer a member of the Demon King's army." Balarosa replies, "Felio is right. While it's our duty to report, I don't see a reason to report someone who has no grudge against us." Blossom adds, "Reese helped us a lot during our training, we all owe her." Bellary says, "Even though we're weak, we'd never betray someone who treated us kindly." Suddenly, Fenrris hears a sound outside and they go out to check. They find Olimenes arriving with an army of dragons. Banaza gets excited when he sees the dragons, and Olimenes is surprised he isn't afraid. Fenrris asks, "Are there no dragons in your world?" He says, "There are, but I've never seen one before." Olimenes gets very angry and orders the dragons to attack. Banaza uses lightning magic and defeats them all, and the remaining dragons flee. Blossom says, "I should have thrown one of my farming tools at them," and Banaza excitedly says, "Let's try it." She throws her axe and Banaza uses enhancement magic, and it pierces through a dragon's neck. Blossom receives the title, Dragon Slayer, and her level rises. At the same time, the Demon King is watching them through a magic crystal and says to his followers, "We must act." The next day, Banaza creates a magical barrier around the house so he can know if any demons come near them. At the same time, the adventurers are sitting around Blossom, looking at her database entry for the title, Dragon Slayer. Balarosa leaves them and says she's going to train. She walks off very upset because she wanted the Dragon Slayer title too and thinks to herself, "That title is so rare it could make a regular person into a noble. If I had earned it, I could have restored the noble status my family lost, and we could have lived in the capital again like when my father was a knight." Suddenly, a strange man appears and says, "I came here because I heard an old friend of mine lives here." She notices his gear is far too light for someone walking alone in a forest full of magical beasts, so she asks, "Is your old friend Felio? Or are you talking about his wife?" He replies, "His wife." She draws her sword and says, "So you're from the Demon King's army. What do you want with someone who's cut ties with you?" He says, "I am from the Demon King's army, but I only came to check on her and have no ill intentions. Just deliver my message to Fenrris. Ask if she'd like to talk about the past and have tea with me." She says, "I'm Balarosa, and you are?" He replies, "Gozel," and walks off. Banaza and Fenrris appear, looking very worried because they detected a demon on Banaza's radar. Balarosa tells them what happened, and Fenrris says, "Gozel. He should have picked a better name if he's going to use a fake one." Banaza says, "Our radar showed you were speaking with the Demon King himself, and his real name is Goel." Balarosa is completely shocked and terrified. The next day, the Demon King comes to the house, and Banaza welcomes him and lets him in. The Demon King is surprised by how calm he is. As soon as Balarosa sees him, she's in shock. They all sit and talk. Fenrris asks him, "Why are you here? Are you seeking revenge?" He replies, "I hate beating around the bush." He turns to Banaza and asks, "What do you think about joining the Demon King's army?" Banaza refuses immediately. He asks, "Then why are you here instead of fighting with the human army?" Banaza says, "Just because I'm human doesn't mean I'll fight for them. I'm from another world and I don't even know why you're all fighting." The Demon King explains that the war between humans and demons started 500 years ago with the first Demon King, who came from another world and wanted to conquer this one. The demons, who were being oppressed by humans at the time, sided with him, so the war began. Banaza asks, "Do you want to end the war?" He replies, "After 12 generations of Demon Kings, the thinking has changed, and I have no desire to rule this world, but I'm the Demon King, and I won't allow anything that threatens demons to fall into human hands. So take my advice and join me." Banaza says, "I have no intention of joining the humans or the demons." The Demon King laughs and says, "You're very stubborn." He stands up and says, "That doesn't mean I've given up. I'll return," and thinks to himself, aside from Felio, I'm surprised someone else isn't bothered by my presence, referring to Balarosa. After he leaves, they find Balarosa has fainted. The next day, Balarosa wakes up and is shocked to see him eating breakfast with Fenrris and Banaza. She runs away from him immediately. Later, she steps outside, making sure he's not there, then finds him waiting outside and saying, "I want to talk to you." She runs again. The next day, she sees him again and continues running away from him. One day, a kingdom guard is observing what's happening and reports that a demon keeps visiting them. The king gets furious and says, "How dare he ignore my summons and choose to stand with the demon king's army?" His daughter, the princess, tries to calm him and says, "We still don't know whether he's actually joined them, and if you send soldiers after him, he might get upset and actually join the demon king's army. It's better if you talk to him yourself." He snaps at her and says, "You think your methods can govern a nation?" The blonde hero walks in and says to the king, "Give me soldiers and I'll make him obey orders." At the same time, Aliclimax warns the demon king about visiting Banaza too often. He replies, "We must win him to our side. He's far more understanding than the king, who won't even listen." After he leaves, she thinks to herself, "Some of our people are starting to speak ill of Gol because of his visits to Banaza, all just to lure him to our side. Is that really all he's aiming for?" Meanwhile, Fenrris talks with Banaza and asks, "Why don't you want to join the hero's army even though the rewards would be way better than what you get now? Is it because of me that you don't want to join the demon king's army?" He replies, "No, it's not that, but now that I have amazing power, I'd rather not fight anyone unless I have to." Suddenly, they find the blonde hero's army outside the house. The hero arrogantly says to Banaza, "I know what you're planning. I heard you've been communicating with the demon king's army, so I'll give you a choice. Join me or I'll consider you a spy for the demon king and eliminate you." Banaza replies, "I don't want to join either side." The hero is shocked and says, "So you want to die a traitor to the kingdom?" Balarosa's squad sides with Banaza and denies the hero's claims. He says, "I heard some of you are working with this man. I could arrest you for treason too, but I'll let it go if you help me convince him to join me." Banaza says, "I can't cause problems for Balarosa and the others, and I won't join either side of this war, so we'll move to a different place." Balarosa says, "Please take us with you. They taught us since we were kids that demons are our enemies and we must fight them, but after living with you, we started to question that. Besides, if I follow someone who threatens innocence, I won't be able to face my father, who was once a knight." They all agree with her and beg Banaza. So Banaza uses teleportation magic and moves the house, the land, and everything they own to a place far from the capital. The blonde hero is shocked that Banaza can use magic that he himself can't even manage. Suddenly, Joel appears. The knights tell the hero that's the demon who kept visiting them. Joel gets extremely angry because they caused Banaza and the others to leave, and he orders his forces to launch a full-scale attack on Claret. The demon king's army pushes deeper and deeper, breaking through their defenses. The king asks the knights, "Where's the hero and what is he doing?" A knight replies, "He locked himself in the northern fortress again." The king orders them to summon him immediately. One of the high council members tells the king, "We need to gather all the mages in the kingdom to cast the purification spell." On the other side, the demon king asks Grianiel, one of his subordinates, what's their status now. She replies, "I think they're ready." He orders Aliclimax to have all forces withdraw because the mages will soon activate the purification spell. At the same time, the mages finish the chant and cast it over the entire city. The next day, a high council member tells the princess, "We have 3 months before the purification spell wears off, so the demons won't come near us." All the mages who cast the spell are now in a coma due to magical depletion, including the king, and they'll need 2 or 3 months to recover. The princess says, "Until he wakes up, I'll handle royal duties." And to start, the hero will be stripped of his title because the kingdom's fate is at stake, and instead of helping, he locked himself away. So my decision is right. At sunset, the hero is thrown out of his house and becomes extremely angry. That night, Banaza tells Fenrris, "I've been meaning to say this for a while. I'm really grateful for you," and thanks her for everything she's done since they moved to the new place. She replies, "I'm always at your service." Banaza recalls how when he first came to this world, he was lost and alone. Now he has a home and is managing things. He feels at peace. The next day, Balarosa and her team tell Banaza and Fenrris, "You've worked so hard lately, go out together and enjoy yourselves today." Fenrris is really happy and excited about the idea. They go out and enjoy their time. Banaza buys Fenrris a hairpin as a gift. That night, Fenrris is holding the hairpin and looking very happy. Balarosa and the others glance at her in surprise and feel jealous. The next day, the hero breaks into the royal palace's storage, searching for anything that can defeat Banaza and get his position back, since he's deeply envious of him. Suddenly, he hears a girl's voice ask, "Do you want power? If you want power, release me." She opens a hidden door in the wall, and he enters. She says, "Pull the sword in front of you and I'll grant you any wish." The hero's maid fearfully asks, "Who are you talking to?" He's surprised that she can't hear the voice. He pulls the sword, and suddenly a whirlwind erupts. A fairy named Hea appears and says, I'll grant you 3 wishes. Elsewhere, the princess goes to the person she trusts most in the kingdom, Lady Asura, and asks her for advice or guidance. Without warning, rings appear around everyone's necks. The princess orders the guards to head to the palace storage and arrest the intruder. They don't recognize the rings, but Asura tells them these are sacrifice rings. When a certain fairy grants a wish, she places them on the necks of her victims to behead them in exchange. The princess explains that long ago, the king of Clarid asked a fairy to defeat the demon king's army, and it was said she sacrificed half of all living beings in return. So the kingdom's mages gathered to seal her. Breaking the seal isn't easy, but someone managed to do it and already made a wish. We only have time left until the fairy fulfills it. Asura says to the princess, you need to find the true summoned hero. The council members say, it must be the one the king tried to recruit and who refused. It must be the hero Felio. Asura says, you can find him in the west. The princess decides to go to him herself since the forces are busy protecting the kingdom. Meanwhile, Banaza is in a shop selling armor he crafted from dragon scales. The merchant is amazed and says, I'll pay any price you name, just bring me whatever goods you can get. Banaza agrees to supply him with all future weapons. Then he asks, can you direct me to a trader who buys items made from magical beast hides? The merchant agrees happily. Banaza heads out with Fenrris and Balarosa. On the way, he suddenly receives an alert that a fairy is approaching. Heya appears behind him and asks, are you Felio? He asks, what do you want from me? We go back in time a little, to the blonde hero, whose first wish was, kill the criminal named Felio. Heya tells Banaza, the wish will be granted now. Fenris senses danger and quickly stands in front of him to protect him, taking the fatal blow. The hairpin falls and breaks. Banaza is in shock and filled with rage. Coldly, Heya tries again to kill him and uses fire magic. Banaza blocks all her spells with magic while holding Fenris, and quickly tries to use healing magic, but strangely, it gets nullified. A screen appears saying, the injury exceeds your healing capacity. Heya launches light magic at full power, but it can't break through Banaza's shield. The voice guide says, light and dark magic acquired. Banaza becomes furious and says to Heya, I'll never forgive you. His memories with Fenris flash before his eyes, and he remembers how she never left him alone and believed in him. Suddenly, Banaza uses time reversal magic, and the hairpin is repaired and Fenris's wound disappears. Heya is shocked and asks herself how an ordinary human can use a spell that rewinds time. Banaza approaches her and punches her with incredible force. She says, how dare you do this to someone who mastered all the magic in this world? But he doesn't care and steps on her. She uses dark magic, but Banaza easily breaks it and lifts her off the ground. She tries to read his abilities and is shocked to see the symbol next to his skills, the infinity sign, meaning Banaza's powers are limitless. He slams her into the wall and punches her in the stomach. She thinks, my defensive magic can't resist his blows. Fenris wakes up and is surprised that she has no wounds at all. Balarosa explains what happened. She looks at Banaza and sees him attacking Heya with full force. She's happy he's doing this for her and says, even though physical attacks shouldn't work on fairies that use every kind of magic. Suddenly, she remembers he once told her, I don't like fighting at all. Banaza keeps punching Heya, then starts choking her. Heya begs him to spare her, but he says, no, you hurt Reese. Fenris runs to him and hugs him. He lets go of Heya, and Fenris tells him, I won't forgive myself if you lose your kindness because of me. He feels calm seeing her and hugs her back. At the same time, the princess and her guards arrive using teleportation. She apologizes to the mage who cast the spell, since he hasn't fully recovered from the exhaustion caused by the purification spell. She tells the knights, prioritize rest for all the mages. Suddenly, the sacrifice rings around their necks disappear. That's because Banaza defeated Heya and her wish failed. Meanwhile, the knights try to break into the basement to capture the intruder. The hero's mate is terrified and asks him, what do we do? If they catch us, we'll be executed. He becomes furious, thinking Heya lied to him. Suddenly, he hears the voice again, the one that spoke to him before. It says, I can't believe a fairy failed, but there's a perfect sacrifice right here. A black aura emerges from the sword's pedestal and wraps around his maid. It possesses her body, and she says to the hero, I've finally escaped from there. This is my first body in hundreds of years. I must thank you for freeing that annoying fairy from me. She casts a magic circle beneath the hero and forces him to kneel. She says, I'm Damalinas, the great dark sorceress. I'll give you the power you want instead of that fairy. Suddenly, the hero transforms into a giant monster and destroys the area. She climbs onto his back and decides to go take revenge on the nobles who sealed her. On her way, she sees a teleportation circle and says, I won't let the royal fools who sealed me escape. Meanwhile, Banaza is healing Heya. When she wakes up, she's terrified of him and begs for forgiveness. Then she's surprised that all her injuries are gone. Banaza tells her, that's only because Reese is okay. Balarosa asks him, what do we do with her? Someone this dangerous can't be left to regular knights or town guards. Banaza thinks and says, maybe we can seal her in the basement again. Heya asks him, how did you know I was sealed there? He replies, for some reason, I can use more spells now. I got inside your mind and learned what happened. Heya is stunned and thinks to herself, memory dive magic? He can use a spell that only I've been able to use in this world. Banaza continues, you're a fairy who grants wishes, but the price is way too high, and if I send you back to the castle, this will all happen again. Fenrris runs over and says, I have a solution, from today, you'll be my husband's servant. Before Banaza can object, she says, I fully understand that you don't need a servant, but since we can't rely on the castle to handle her, it's better to keep her under our watch. Besides, having a fairy with this kind of power on our side will strengthen our position. Banaza agrees and tells Heya, if you promise not to hurt anyone again, I'm willing to forgive what you did. She promises to serve him from now on and forever. After that, Banaza looks at the city that was destroyed and says, maybe I can use the same time magic that saved Reese. Heya tells him, please don't use that spell again, it's complicated, but time manipulation magic only affects people within your proximity. It can create contradictions between those affected and others, which could lead to serious accidents. When I use it, I can limit the target area. This isn't a spell meant for humans. He asks her in surprise, then why can I use it? She replies, because your skills are limitless. He remembers the symbol he saw on the stats screen and didn't understand at the time. Heya continues, since you have limitless skills, you can use magic that only the greats can use. This magic is called full mastery. As soon as someone casts a spell on you, you gain the ability and all the chance related to it. He asks, so when you used your magic, I gained fairy magic that only you can use? She says, exactly, but like I said, time magic causes disasters, so please don't use it again. Later, they return home. The other adventurers are afraid of Heya. Banaza tells them, she had nowhere else to go, so I brought her here. But they object since they still don't trust her. Balarosa tells them, don't worry, as long as Banaza's here, we're safe, and shows Heya to her room. That night, Banaza enters his room and finds Fenrris looking down. She asks him, are you going back to your world? Since you can use fairy magic now, can't you go back to your world? Please take me with you, wherever you are, I want to be with you, so please don't leave me alone. He reassures her, no, I'll never go back. The world I came from would be far too cruel for you, and I have no intention of leaving and letting you live here alone. Suddenly, he asks her, will you be my real wife? He says, the day I thought I'd lose you, I felt an indescribable fear. I've never felt that kind of pain inside me before. I couldn't control myself. I can't imagine life without you. She replies, I was never pretending that our marriage was fake. To me, I've been your wife from the very beginning. The next day, the princess is searching for Banaza and asks all the merchants about him, but no one gives her any information. At the same time, Banaza and the others are having breakfast together at home. Then Blossom goes to work in her field. Meanwhile, Bellary is in the stable and thinks to herself, I have to work so I can contribute something to the household budget, but all I can do for now is take care of the horses. She feels discouraged. As for Bellano, she's in her room remembering her brother and father, and says to herself, I left the knights before I could become a mage like you did. I don't need to push myself to be stronger right now. She remembers how Banaza taught her how to use magic and was very patient with her, even though she had given up. Suddenly, she hears Blossom screaming. It's because a magical beast shaped like a horse is running through the field. It suddenly charges at Bellano and Bellary, so Bellano uses a magic shield and blocks it. Bellary quickly grabs a rope, jumps onto the horse, tames it, and calms it down. Afterward, she asks Balarosa, can we use the wide land around our house? She replies, all this land belongs to the local lord. I'm sure we could use it if we buy it from him. Meanwhile, Banaza and Fenrris are in the city selling some goods. As usual, the merchant is amazed by Banaza's merchandise and gives him a very expensive gemstone in return. Suddenly, black clouds gather above the town, a magic circle appears, and Damilinus and her beast emerge. Panic breaks out in the city and people start fleeing. Damilinus finds Princess Elizabeth in the city and attacks her guards, pushing them away from her. Heya appears before Banaza and says, I sensed an evil aura approaching, so I came quickly. Then she tells them that Beast is a human who took this form because of the magic of the sorceress with him, the great dark sorceress Damilinus. In the past, she was the strongest mage in Clarid, but she stained her hands with dark magic and was defeated by the hero of that era, yet even after her body died, her consciousness remained alive, and she was sealed in the sword's pedestal where I was also sealed. I believe she managed to return after my seal was broken too. She asks Banaza to let her deal with Damilinus. He says, fine, but the lives of the citizens come first. Before Damilinus can attack the princess, Heya blows up the beast with fire magic. Damilinus responds with lightning magic at full power, but it has no effect at all on Heya. Damilinus is shocked that Heya blocked her magic with just one hand so easily. Heya replies, There's no magic in this world that can affect me. Damalinas sends the beast leaping at her and simultaneously uses dark magic as a double attack. Heya easily blocks both with wind magic. Furious, Damalinas uses dark magic again and transforms the beast into a giant monster. The princess is terrified and fears for the city. Suddenly, the magic circle breaks and the beast returns to its original form, the blonde hero. Banaza arrives and says, I knew the size of that beast would be a problem, so I nullified the spell. Damalinas is unable to comprehend how a mere human could cancel her magic. Heya casts sealing magic on her, retrieves the hero's maid's body, turns Damalinas into a red orb, and swallows it. Banaza is surprised and asks, is it okay for you to swallow something like that? She replies, I sealed her inside my spiritual world and I'll make sure to discipline her so she can use her power in your service from now on. Princess Elizabeth arrives and says to Banaza, are you Sir Felio? He replies, yes. She introduces herself and Banaza is surprised to see the princess standing before him. She tells him, I've been searching for you for a long time. She thanks him for saving the city and apologizes for how the king treated him and the former hero. He's surprised she called him former. She tells him, we dismissed him because of the trouble he caused, and I'd like to ask you to come with me to the castle as our true hero. He replies, I'm sorry, but you should give that role to someone who won't hesitate to use all his power for humans. I'm not that person. Besides, the life I live now is the best life I could ask for. All I want is to live in peace with my wife. At sunset, he returns home and finds the adventurers waiting to tell him they want to expand their property. Bellary says, I want to tame magical horse beasts and raise them, so I'll need wide land to do that. Then Blossom says, I'll get more fields and plant more vegetables. Banaza is very happy with the idea and agrees. They're thrilled, and Bellary says, but we want to handle the negotiations and buy the land ourselves. He's surprised and says, but that land is really expensive, and calculates the price. When they see it, they're shocked. But he tells them, don't worry, I'll pay for it and it'll be part of this home. I'll be glad to see you taking care of it. But they refuse to take it for free, so he suggests taking a share of their profits instead. They agree and are very happy. The next day, Banaza fulfills his promise to them. Later, he asks Blossom, since you'll rely on selling vegetables, why don't you grow crops that are hard to grow in this region? He explains that they could control the temperature using magic, and with some preparation, they could grow anything here. She refuses the idea because she doesn't want to rely on his magic to run her farm. Heya appears and says, I can help with the farming using my magic. Blossom gets upset and says, vegetables only grow well if we plant them with love and care. We can't rely on magic for everything. Heya asks in surprise, but won't farming be highly inefficient because of the weather? Blossom refuses and insists. Then Bellano appears and says to Blossom, but I want to see how she does it. They're surprised by what she's wearing. She says, I'm going to the magic school. I'll be a student and a teacher there at the same time. Everyone is very happy for her, and Banaza says, I'm proud of you. Blossom reluctantly agrees to try magic in farming for Bellano's sake. At sunset, Banaza watches them proudly as they achieve their goals. He says to Fenrris, I've also found something I want to do. She asks, what is it? He replies, I want to open my own store in this world someday. She's really excited about the idea and supports him. Then he gives her a ring he crafted using the gemstone he got from the merchant and says, this is our wedding ring. I'm wearing one just like it. She's very happy and says, I'm lucky to have you. Meanwhile, the blonde hero and his maid are in prison, terrified of being executed. The next day, a notification appears in front of Banaza that one of the demons has passed through the barrier he placed around the city. It's Grianiel. He tells the others, we need to keep an eye on the city for a while. Meanwhile, the High Council tells the princess, most of the coins donated by Felio were road gold coins issued by the royal castle. The princess remembers when Felio told her, sorry I didn't meet your expectations, but I don't want to fight demons or humans, and gave her a bag of money saying, use it to rebuild the city. She's surprised and says, ordinary people don't use road coins, so how? One council member replies, there's only one person we gave those coins to. Banaza, who we summoned here from another world by mistake and exiled. I suspect Banaza and Sir Felio are the same person. The princess is shocked and says, that means he'll never agree to be on our side. If that's true, then we must apologize to him first and ask for his forgiveness. Suddenly, a knight enters and says, the blonde hero has escaped from his cell. The princess says, call for assistance from the guard units and adventurers throughout the kingdom and arrest him and his maid. She feels guilty for having supported the blonde hero at first and says to herself, we should have made Banaza our hero from the start. The knights search for the blonde hero and his maid, who are hiding in the forest. The hero says to his maid, this is all the fairy's fault. Now I'm treated like a criminal. She replies, we're fugitives and thieves now. He angrily replies, we didn't steal anything. She says, you stole the magic pouch you found in the treasure chest. He says, I didn't steal it, it's mine. They promised me rewards when I completed my mission as a hero. They're lucky I only took that pouch. He looks inside the pouch, upset that there's no money, but finds a treasure box. He opens it and finds a set of digging tools. They sense soldiers approaching. When the soldiers arrive, no one is there, because the hero used the tools to dig a hole in an instant. On the other side, in the Demon King's army, Illuminus apologizes to the Demon King for not finding Felio yet. She says nervously, I don't believe this is the right time to prioritize searching for Felio instead of advancing our army. If we move our troops now, we'll fill the land with demonic matter and open an ideal path for our forces to march on. If we strike with full force now, we can destroy the castle. He gets angry and says, did you forget that man can use purification magic on his own? Even if we sacrifice magical beasts to open the way, Felio could undo everything we achieve. So yes, finding him is the top priority. She replies, but if we delay, you won't be able to silence those who oppose you. He places his hand on her head and says, I'm sorry for involving you in this, but I'll never abandon my beliefs. I see no reason for us to sacrifice just to invade the humans. One of the demons is secretly eavesdropping. We then find out she's an aide of Uegard, Joel's brother. She goes to inform him of what she heard. He gets furious and says, my brother isn't just refusing to advance the army, he also wants to recruit a human into it. She tells him, but that human possesses power equal to that of a hero. He responds angrily, that's why I say he's deluded. Whether he's a hero or not, we must destroy him. The Demon King becomes king by destroying everything. Since it's come to this, I'll seize the throne, and as the true Demon King, I'll send my army to clear it. At the same time, Banaza is at the market with Fenrris. He says, my barrier detected another demon intrusion, but strangely, things are very calm. They decide to go get lunch. On their way, they see Lady Holdy, owner of a well-known shop in town, closing her store. They ask what happened. She tells them, since the last battle with the Demon King's army, my storage house was destroyed, and I'm too old to build another. Banaza and Fenrris feel really sad. They go to look for a restaurant. Suddenly, Balarosa appears and offers to treat them to lunch to celebrate her new promotion in the Adventurers Guild and the reward she received. They're very happy and she says, it's thanks to your training, so I wanted to thank you. Suddenly, Heya appears and tells Banaza, I sensed a very powerful demon approaching. Fenris interrupts her and pulls her aside, because the demon she's talking about is Joel. They take him with them to the restaurant, and he tells them, I came here because my intel unit reported some strange magic, but I'm glad it brought us together again. Balarosa is tense due to his presence. Suddenly, he says to her, I hoped we could talk sometime. Balarosa becomes even more nervous and doesn't respond. After a while, the Demon King says, I love human food very much. Even before I became king, I used to visit places like this often. Banaza says, you seem very interested in human culture. He replies, studying the enemy's culture helps increase military strength. Balarosa asks angrily, does that mean you're observing enemy movements right now? He says, I can't deny that, since I'm still trying to recruit Sir Felio to our side. She becomes more upset and says, you know how we're living our lives now, and you're still trampling all over that? Calmly, he replies, yes, we're both equal when it comes to trampling others. Even if humans treat our very existence as demons like a plague, that's no reason for us to endure persecution. Banaza says in surprise, we haven't had any trouble living with Reese, so what do you mean by plague? Heya explains, the biggest difference between demons and humans is the presence of demonic matter in their bodies. Some demons can control it, others can't. The ones who can't release small amounts from their bodies, when that builds up in one place, it pollutes the area and harms humans, like in Delisa forest. Joel adds, yes, and on top of that, most demons have a harsh temperament, even small arguments can turn into hostility. Then he apologizes for making them uncomfortable and leaves. On their way home, Banaza reflects on everything that was said and thinks to himself, when I was summoned to this world, I was happy that there was no discrimination between humans and demi-humans. But the wall between humans and demons is incredibly solid. The next day, Banaza opens the door and finds Princess Elizabeth. He says, why are you here? I already refused your offer, and I won't be your hero. She replies, I came to apologize, Felio, no, candidate hero Banaza. He and Fenris are shocked. She enters, and Balarosa serves her tea. The princess asks them to leave so she can speak with Banaza privately. Fenris responds, I'm not leaving. I can't leave him alone with someone from the kingdom. Banaza tells Elizabeth, my wife will stay here. If it's something you can't say in front of her, then I'll have to ask you to leave. She says, understood, and the others walk out. Suddenly, the princess kneels and says, please allow me to apologize for the injustice the kingdom put you through, and I'm sorry for the curses they placed on the pouch and for your exile to Delisa forest. He tells her, raise your head. I'm not Banaza anymore, my name is Felio, and I'm nothing more than a humble merchant. The princess is saddened that he won't accept her apology. He says, no matter how many times you apologize, there's nothing I can do, so get to the point. There's no way a princess came all this way just to say sorry. She stands and shows him a magical map indicating the locations of Clarid's army. She explains, the lights you see represent the magical gems held by each unit commander. Banaza asks in shock, this is confidential information, why are you showing it to me? She says, the effects of the purification magic we used around the town will wear off soon, and once that happens, the demon army will move. Our mages are still drained and haven't recovered. Even though we used our geographic position to place the army strategically, there are certain towns we won't be able to protect, so I came to ask you to defend them. I'm not asking you to fight as a hero for humanity. Fenrris interrupts and says, after everything you put him through, you want to drag him into a war? Elizabeth says, the king lying in that bed will recover soon, and because Sir Felio has ties to the demons, they'll send forces after him. Fenrris angrily asks, is that a threat? Elizabeth replies, no, but there are things I can do now that I have authority, like charging him with defaming the true hero and for naming a false one. I'll have the king of Clarid abdicate the throne, and I'd be grateful if you help me do it. I won't deny that our king protected the kingdom from many threats, but he failed to help the weak and abandon them. I want to take the throne and save all the citizens, and to do that, I need to show the same level of authority as the king. Fenrris gets upset and says, you want to use him just to become queen. Banaza calms her down and asks Elizabeth, you just want to guarantee that I won't join the demon king's army, right? She says, you figured me out so easily, but yes, I don't want to lose a single region. He asks, did it never occur to you that I might share this information with the demons? She says, consider it the greatest proof of the trust I've placed in you. Meanwhile, the blonde hero is fleeing from adventurers because there's a bounty on him. Suddenly, a spider appears and traps both him and his maid in webs, and Uegard's assistant appears. That night, Fenrris finds Banaza deep in thought. She asks what's wrong, and he says, I don't like fighting, but I can't just sit around while I know some towns may suffer. I've been thinking about what I should do in this world and what I want to do. If we have a child one day, I want them to live happily alongside human and demon children, so I have to build this world for them. She replies, I know you're capable of doing things people consider impossible, and I'll help you in any way I can. The next day, in one of the towns, people begin evacuating because the demon king's army is approaching. Before the demons can attack a child, Banaza appears in disguise with Fenrris in her wolf form. Banaza creates a barrier around the town to stop the demons from coming closer. The demons are surprised to see a demoness fighting alongside a human. Banaza says, we are the guardians of this town. If you agree to retreat, we'll leave you alone. But if you plan to hurt people, we won't go easy on you. A giant demon approaches and says, I'll break the barrier. Fenrris tells Banaza, that's a scargal. No other species in the demon king's army possesses physical strength like theirs, and he serves Uegard, Goel's brother. The scargal says to Fenrris, you Fonclan are a cowardly race with a foolish commander who got himself killed even though he claimed to be one of the 4 great kings. You're no match for me. Fenrris becomes enraged and says to Banaza, let me handle him. My brother was defeated, but as one of the high-ranking officers in the demon king's army, it's our duty to take responsibility. But if his defeat made you underestimate the Fonclan, which values military strength above all, then as his younger sister, I can't ignore your insult. Banaza says, I don't mind, but don't kill him. She crosses the barrier, and the scargal attacks her. She dodges and injures the muscles in his arm and leg. He says, you think that's enough to beat me? She says, you do have tough skin, but it takes effort not to kill you. I used to go for a quick kill, but I've learned restraint. She uses high jump magic and safe swap magic to switch positions with him. He gets angry and throws his hammer at her. She swaps places again, and the hammer hits him in the head. Then she uses gravity magic and traps him in place with roots. He shouts at the other demons to attack her, but Banaza intervenes and restrains them all. Then he uses healing magic on the scargal and says, all I want from you is to retreat. The scargal asks in confusion, who are you? Banaza replies, just a human who became friends with this demoness, and I truly hope to be friends with all of you. But if you refuse, then I'll face you however you want. They become afraid of him and flee. The village chief appears and thanks Banaza for protecting the town. He's surprised by the wolf and asks, what is this? Banaza replies, no need to worry, she's my partner. The little girl the demons almost attacked thanks them. Meanwhile, one of the knights reports to the princess that a strange man and a wolf have been appearing in various areas, driving away demons and leaving without saying his name or taking any money, and strangely, he claims that Princess Elizabeth sent him. Thank you letters are pouring in from everywhere. The princess is overjoyed and realizes that Felio fulfilled her request. They tell the knight, send word to all forces across the kingdom, if they see this man, cooperate with him. Elsewhere, Goel is furious at his brother for acting without telling him. Suddenly, Grianiel appears and tells him, Olimena's reported an emergency. Uegard is planning a rebellion and has taken the throne room with his closest aides. At the same time, Uegard is already in the throne room and says to his aide, Vovon, is everything ready? She replies, yes, and luckily we selected some high potential humans so that when you face Lord Gol, we'll use the forbidden secret art, which requires human sacrifices. The blonde hero and his maid are bound in spider silk. Meanwhile, Gol is on his way to the demon homeland at full speed. The next day, Gol and Olimenas arrive, and Gol says to Banaza, I want to ask you for a favor. May I live in your house for free for a while? Banaza and Fenrris are shocked and think he's joking, but he tells them, I'm serious, and I think I need to explain. We go back to the previous day. Olimenas is objecting to what's happening in the castle and is surprised the 4 legendary kings aren't saying anything. They tell her, we'll be witnesses to the duel between Uegard and Gol. Olimenas gets angry and says, this is betrayal. They reply, we agreed to the duel hoping Gol would open his eyes. He's always absent from the castle and refuses to advance the army, so everyone is doubting him. When they enter the throne room, Olimenas says to Vovon, stop what you're doing, you know what Gol has done for us. Vovon mocks her and says, I never noticed your presence, it's that weak. Olimenas attacks Uegard, but her claws break, and Uegard punches her, sending her flying. Suddenly, her broken claw flies toward Uegard, but Vovon blocks it. Before she can attack again, Grianiel appears and takes her away. Gol appears, and Uegard says, I challenge you to a duel for the Demon King's throne. Gol refuses, saying he has no intention of fighting a meaningless battle. Uegard says, even your loyal followers agreed to this duel and say you've become so cowardly you're no longer fit to lead the demons. Your recent foolish actions don't suit a demon king. Gol replies, I have just one question for you. Which of my actions do you consider foolish? Uegard angrily says, still pretending to be clueless? You've been visiting human towns just to enjoy yourself. Vovon adds, not only that, you withdrew the army even though we were a step away from victory, rejected all suggestions to continue, and now there are rumors you want to side with the humans. Gol asks, did you send the army without my approval? Uegard says, yes. Gol turns to the 4 kings and asks, did you agree with him? They stay silent, ashamed. Gol removes the demon king's bracelet and says, I relinquish my position. Everyone is shocked. Uegard says, are you mocking me? Gol replies, if all of you believe my actions don't suit a demon king, then I have no reason to cling to the title. Uegard charges at him, and Gol kicks him through the wall and out of the building. He says, that's for hurting Olimenas. Back to the present, Banaza says, I understand your reasons, but I need to ask the others first. Coincidentally, Balarosa enters and is surprised to see Gol. Banaza asks her opinion about Gol living with them, but she says nothing. They gather the rest of the adventurers. Gol says, there's no need to be nervous. I'm no longer the Demon King, and it wouldn't be right for me to live on demon territory. If I must rely on the humans I consider friends, then Sir Felio is the only one who comes to mind. Blossom says in disbelief, but the demon army attacked Clarid recently. Fenrris replies, then Uegard, the current Demon King, is the one responsible for that attack. Gol confirms it and promises not to harm any humans. Fenrris asks Olimenas, how did Gol become completely broke, even though he was the Demon King and you're with him? Olimenas says, my intel squad disbanded after everything, and the former Demon King gave them all our money. Gol adds, thanks to them, the damage our army suffered was minimal, so it was a fair reward. Olimenas angrily says, it's because of your kindness that the demons rebelled against you. Gol replies, I never cared about the ways of my predecessors. I took the throne from my father but stepped down because I had no support, but there are still things I can do without being king. Just like Sir Felio managed to stop the conflict between humans and demons while hiding his identity. Fenrris is surprised he knew, and Olimenas says, you're right. Banaza asks the others, do you mind if Gol lives with us? Everyone agrees except Balarosa, who gets angry and says, he may have stepped down, but he was still the Demon King, and the woman with him was his closest aide. With an innocent face, Fenrris says, so you're saying I should throw out my former boss and colleague even though they have nowhere else to go? Balarosa is stunned and doesn't know how to respond, so she agrees. The next day, Gol tries to be helpful and offers to help with their work, but they're scared and ask him to stay away. He then goes to Banaza and sees the weapons he's made. Gol is amazed by them, and Olimenas gets annoyed that Gol is bonding with him so easily. That evening, they all go camping outside the house and have a great time, but Balarosa is sitting alone. Later, everyone goes to sleep except her. Banaza and Fenrris bring her herbal tea and cakes to help her sleep. Banaza says, Reese was worried about you and said you seemed down. Maybe we pressured you into agreeing to Gol and Olimenas staying here. She replies, no, since I'm living here for free, I have no right to judge. Banaza says, I love the life we're living. I sell armor made from the materials of magical beasts we hunt, we eat vegetables Blossom grows, Bellary takes care of the magical beasts, and Bellano and Heya study magic. She says, "You're right, maybe I just don't belong here. I wanted to stay with all of you forever, but clearly I'm not as useful as the rest." And even though Gol might be a demon, when he talks and laughs with us and eats the same food, he doesn't feel any different. I know demons see us as aggressors, but I can't accept that. Maybe I'm just a rookie who hasn't even been on the battlefield yet, but among the knights I saw many tears over injured or dead comrades, and even if I know that man isn't evil, I'm not sure I can live under the same roof with him. Banaza tells her, "It's normal to feel that way. I'm sure every human in this world hates demons, but I don't think Gol and Olimenas came here just because they felt they had to." Fenrris adds, "We think they came to observe this place, because here we have Felio, Damolina's inside Heya, and of course, me. This house has people who could be a powerful asset to either side." Balarosa asks in surprise, "And you don't feel any tension, even though you're being watched?" Banaza replies, "No, we have nothing to hide, and you don't have to accept him. What's important is that we live together with mutual respect and acceptance of each other's ways of life." Balarosa feels at ease. The next day, Uegard is extremely confused, unable to understand how demons, who are stronger than humans, can't advance any further and invade the kingdom. Vovon tells him, according to the reports, the humans have set traps on all the roads the demon army uses. He replies in disbelief, "Those things never stopped us before. If this continues, we'll have to crush them with an enormous army that traps can't slow down." She asks, "How will you gather such a force?" He hits her and says, "That's your job to figure out." Then he walks out of the room, and the four legendary kings aren't pleased with what's happening. Hoogie and Mugi say, "He's clearly a commander who only knows how to charge and lose." Gol always advanced wisely and after thorough research. Yuminet adds, "Our intel unit left with Olimenas, so what do we do?" Sleepbird says, "Our army's morale is plummeting, and at this rate, we'll be defeated." Vovon says, "No need to worry, I have a plan. First, we'll hold a meeting to boost the army's morale." Meanwhile, Banaza and Fenrris are in the city and win a prize: tickets for a trip to the hot springs. Fenrris is shocked that the tickets are for more than 2 people and gets upset that the others are coming along, since she wanted to go alone with her husband. Later, they all go to the hot springs. Olimenas is surprised by the clothing people are wearing, and Balarosa tells her, "It's a yukata. It's traditional clothing from the eastern lands." When they enter the changing room, Blossom accidentally bumps into someone without realizing. She looks up and sees a large, intimidating man. Before he can attack her, a woman stops him, and Blossom walks away. The shocking part is, the man and woman are actually Uegard and Vovon in disguise as humans. Uegard angrily asks her, "Why did you stop me? How could that filthy creature dare bump into me?" She replies, "The reason we're here, disguised as humans, is to boost the morale of our officers after the last defeat. If anything happens, all of that will be ruined." Suddenly, the 4 legendary kings enter. Vovon tells them, "Don't forget to keep your anti-demonic matter necklaces on." Later, Gozel, Fenrris, and Olimenas notice their presence. Fenrris warns them not to show themselves at all, or they'll ruin the day. After a while, Uegard and the others are having lunch. He orders a show of strength to entertain themselves, so 2 of them start fighting intensely. Suddenly, one of their necklaces falls off, and demonic matter spreads. At the same time, the blonde hero and his mate escape from the Demon King's castle and arrive at the hot springs. The blonde hero pulls out a crystal he stole and tells his maid, "Once we sell this, we'll be super rich." Suddenly, the crystal starts absorbing all the demonic matter released from the demon's fight. Their battle had destroyed the building, and as they continued fighting, the crystal disappears and appears on the blonde hero's neck. He transforms into a giant demon. Meanwhile, Balarosa talks with Olimenas and asks, "Do you want Gozel to become Demon King again?" Olimenas says, "Of course. No one has his strength, and he always cares for everyone in his world. He's not someone meant to live a lowly human life without reverence." Suddenly, Balarosa sees the monster about to destroy one of the hot spring buildings. Banaza saves the day and prevents the building from collapsing, but the monster keeps trying to destroy it. When Gozel sees the monster, he says, "That's a concentrated mass of demonic matter." Olimenas tries to figure out how the monster was formed and says, "There's a magic stone that absorbs and enhances demonic matter within it, but a living being is needed to control it." Balarosa gathers the adventurers and heads off to rescue people nearby, but Olimenas stops her and says, "You won't be able to do anything in this situation." Joel says, "I believe Sir Felio is more than enough for this task." Balarosa snaps, "Are you just trying to dump everything on Sir Felio? He's been stuck between humans and demons for a long time and has suffered because of it. yet he still uses his power to protect everyone. We can't expect him to handle everything just because we're not strong enough. We'll stand by his side to help him. We were knights, and we'll do whatever we can. Joel now understands why Banaza keeps them by his side. He tells Aniclimax, Reese said not to interfere, but I don't think now's the time to just watch. They teleport and move toward the monster. The other demons notice them. Uigard comes out and walks up to Joel. He breaks his own anti-demonic matter necklace, gaining control over it, and he releases the demonic matter at Joel, but Joel blocks it easily. Uigard jumps onto the monster and makes it attack Joel, but all its strikes are too weak for him. At the same time, Balarosa goes to inform Banaza of everything that happened, and he says, if Joel is fighting over there, then I need to focus on protecting the building. On the other side, the monster restrains Joel, so Joel takes advantage of that and slams it into the building. Aniclimax says to Joel, we need to get these humans away from the magic stone. So Fenrris uses close-range teleportation and punches the blonde hero, sending him flying. The stone breaks, and the monster disappears. Joel catches the maid before she hits the ground. Uigard mocks him. Then Joel asks, you're not planning to back down, are you? Uigard replies, of course not. I'll eat, drink, and spread corruption as I please. He charges his hand with demonic matter and punches, but Joel dodges quickly. Uigard throws another punch, and this time Joel grabs his fist and tells him, learn to focus on your surroundings. Uigard gets angry and tries a flurry of punches, but Joel dodges them all easily. Meanwhile, Aniclimax asks the other demons, what brought you here? They reply, we just came for the hot springs. If the brothers want to fight, we'll leave them to it. We have no intention of fighting. Vovon attacks Aniclimax, but Aniclimax jumps on her with her claws. Elsewhere, Joel grabs Uigard's fist and counters with magic punches. Uigard charges his entire body with demonic matter and lands a heavy punch on Joel. Joel blocks it with his hand, and Uigard tries to provoke him, saying, did you lose your natural aggression? You're not the type to focus only on defense. He grabs Joel's head and slams it with his own. Joel grabs him and says, I didn't want to use this again. Suddenly, he nullifies all the demonic matter in his body. Uigard is stunned and asks, what did you do? Joel replies, I sealed it temporarily, it's the source of demons' physical strength, now you're no different from a human. Uigard asks, where did you learn that spell? Joel says, I mastered it to defeat the former Demon King. It was a spell the humans were trying to invent. The previous Demon King pushed the humans too far. Trying to force the enemy into submission will only lead to the demon's destruction. Uigard gets furious and stands up, and suddenly the hot spring owners use sealing paper to bind Uigard and his followers. The owner explains that the yukatas at this place are infused with magic for emergencies, and she kicks them out. Banaza repairs the building, and everyone is amazed by him, and the rest help clean up the area after everything that happened. The owner thanks them. That night, they go back to enjoying their time in the hot springs. Joel says to Banaza, from the first day I met you, I found you interesting. You were calm and brave in my presence and didn't use your incredible power for selfish reasons but used it to bring peace between humans and demons. Just the two of us can build a new relationship between demons and humans. Banaza says, I've met new people I can trust in this world, and I plan to borrow their strength to do what I can. Joel says, I'm with you. Then they all eat together. Balarosa goes to thank Joel for what he did in saving the humans. He tells her, I could never break my promise to you. Later, they go to sleep, but Reese and Banaza stay up for a bit. Banaza asks her, what do you think of humans? She says, they're weaker than the fanged ones, but among humans, things aren't measured by military strength like with us. I still remember the day I felt defeated when I ate Balarosa's sweets. It's hard to describe what I feel toward humans, but I don't see them as enemies. On the contrary, they've become dear to me. He's happy with her words and says, the battle between humans and demons will intensify, and if that happens, I think I'll protect the town to make sure people don't get hurt. I want you to help me with that. If you stay by my side and make sure I don't favor either side, then I know I'll be able to get through this without messing up. She says, of course I'll be with you. The next day, they return home and live their lives together, each in their own field. Joel helps Banaza craft weapons. As for the kingdom, what Princess Elizabeth said ends up happening, and she takes the throne in place of her father, who fled when he realized his actions had been exposed.